Hey guys, well you might have seen my other video. I did the stock dyno pulls on the MT-09, my 2021 RIP Junior, that's the name of the bike. So I thought I'd go ahead and make a video of how to remove the stock exhaust and you know, step by step for you that are buying, you know, any kind of different mufflers, or headers. And I'm going to put a Black Widow on it. I'll show you that in a second with one of my mufflers. So let me grab the camera, and it's not going to be every bolt I turn, blah blah blah, 'cause I don't want to make this forever video, long. So I'll just show you kind of what they recommend and what I'm going to try without maybe pulling the radiator stuff. But let me show you the parts first. Okay guys, let me show you. Oh, this is my wall of shame. Let me show you the Black Widow header laid out. So here we go. So these are packaged all in cellophane and foam, packed pretty good, and they're numbered. There's number 1. I go ahead and put another number on it right there. And 1, 2, and 3. The headers are pretty nice. Black Widow, the stuff is made nice, but keep in mind it's a brushed finish, so it's not as shiny as some of the ones that are really polished up. You can wet sand this, take a while. You could use 220, 320, and then go clear up to maybe 800 grit, wet sand it. And then you could hand polish it and knock this down more, but it takes some time. Yeah, this is still stainless, 304 stainless, but none of the stainless is totally pure without carbon, so don't think it still won't corrode. Not necessarily going to turn into a rust bucket, but you'll have to still keep on the headers, any of them really, with a metal polish, either like Mother's Blue Magic or We Sell Magic Mix it's called. Anyway, but inside it's pretty good. There's no big lump from a header weld. A few little dingleberries, but nothing to really go in there and clean up. So they did a pretty good job with that. A little lightweight. We'll weigh it too in the end here. The mid pipe, they got a little carried away belting it. If you see right here, it's got a little flat spot right there. I've had these on other bikes that didn't have that. There's one there and there's kind of one there. So if that was shiny, it almost looked like a dent. Okay, so that's a little funky. Still work fine. Hopefully it doesn't show up. Collector assembly is beautiful. All hand tigged. Gorgeous weld beads. Nice stainless bracket. Got your O2 bung right there. Spring mounts to pull it together. Again, at least they do number them with the corresponding header tube. Makes it nice. You want to test fit all those first. I like to hand fit everything in these. Just make sure they slide in nice and smooth and easy. If not, take a little bit of sandpaper on the end. Sometimes you put a little WD-40, but don't do that unless you have to, because then you have to clean it super clean and dry with like carb clean or contact cleaner before you assemble it. Then they include this paste, they call it. Lextech did the same thing. To be honest with you, this stuff, it works, but it's a mess, and then it dries pretty hard. And it's kind of a pain if you got to take it apart. We sell Falco all-in-one black high-temp 600 degree, and it works really nice. You just use a light, thin coat. It stays rubbery. Let it set all night, and it'll still come back apart. This is my 14-inch. I'm going to go with my 14-inch street core. 1 3/4 louver core. Little less flow than the comp cores, but on this size motor it's not going to affect it. It'll still make within probably 1 horsepower, my other very best muffler. But I also have a 10-inch bad boy. So I don't sell Black Widow, okay? I can sell you one of my mufflers if you buy just the header. They have a part number. You can just buy this. Someday I'm going to get out of the exhaust business, but I still am building mufflers and a few of our systems. And once I'm out, I'm out. So Anyway, real nice, probably laser cut bracket that's powder coated or black anodized. It's very nice. This is your muffler support bracket. This particular bolt and spacer with the machine cone is going to mount my clamp onto the bracket for the outer body clamp. Then you got your springs, have a nice high temp rubber around them, which is nice, no rattles. A couple other mounting bolts, we'll get to those. I think this is the one that mounts the collector to the original bracket on the bike. And you get an extension for the O2 sensor wire, okay? So let me go over back to, and then you get this little lanyard, you know, if you're walking around the racetrack and want to put your name, you know, I'm Dale. Yeah, right. And then a couple decals. They try to do a pretty nice job, and in general for the money, the pipes are beautiful. Okay, back over to the bike. So the first step is got to remove this whole plastic panel. There's a couple screws, and I see a couple little pop-in rivets right here. And snip this nylon tie. This is your O2 sensor. They want you to take the O2 sensor out of the stock header first, okay? See it right there? And right up and around in here somewhere under this cover is where it plugs together. So I haven't done that yet. So that's what you got to do first. Okay, then, this is the fun part. They want you to take this lower, right here, they want you to take that bracket loose, which is, and there is the bolt. Can you see the bolt? You can see that little bolt right there? Way up there. What a pain that's going to be, huh? You probably can do it with a short little fine ratchet 10 millimeter, but I'm going to try to do it without dropping the radiator, okay? I've already got, I tried, and I already got the flange nuts, some of them off. See them here? So what will fit in there and what I can reach in there is my 1/4 inch drive, long extension, and a complete swivel wobbly universal, right? It's a 12 millimeter. Always use a 6-point socket. Okay? You want a 6-point so you don't round off the flange nut. And what you do is you break them loose, and the ones that you can get that in and out easily, go ahead and leave it on and pull them out. The other ones, do the easy ones first, because then it takes the load off the one that's hard to get to, okay? And it'll break right loose. So then once you break that loose, you can get the socket out of there before it binds up in the way and get in there with your finger. You can reach them, barely, and get the nut off. So I'm going to try that first and see if the pipe will actually, see that right there? It's about 1/2 inch. So we're going to find out if I have to take the radiator bottom bracket off or not. May have to, but I'm going to see if those spigots in the ports will slide out enough and clear and the header drop down or not. Try to do it without taking the radiator loose first. May have to though, okay? So the other mounting points is right here, there's one. Where is it? Here. Right here's one on the left side. It's right below the side stand right here. Looks to me like. And then on the other side, the muffler bolts on right here with this bracket. So this bracket, it's mainly this one right here. So, and this bracket stays on, and we'll get to that. The other collector bracket slides up in between here and bolts on with its own bolt they supply. So, let me start on that, and I'll just let you know how I get on with it. All right? All right, step 2 coming up. Okay, guys, I got the cover off, so all there is 2 5 millimeter. Use a 5 millimeter Allen. Okay, on the back here, little button heads. Okay, I break it loose with the T here, and then I use the little ball end, 5 millimeter. Okay, then on the back side, coming in this way through the plastic up here, are these little rivets. So just, can you see it? Undo the screw with the small Phillips screwdriver and just get the screw out part way and then wiggle and pull, and it's the typical push in connector. 2 of those. Then the cover will come right off. Then you're going to snip a nylon tie here, and I think there was another one here. Okay, I already unplugged this. The 2 nylon ties, carefully snip them off, and it's got a little tab on it right here. It's hard to see because it's all black. So use a small screwdriver and see that little tab right there? Right there. You can barely see it. Right here is a little tab. Okay, see that little tab? Well, you push that little tab forward, okay, and that unclips it from that little clip edge right there, and then grab the wires themselves. Pull the shielding down, hold that little tab forward, and it'll pop right out. Don't try to take this off, you might break it. You don't have to. You can do it right there with the screwdriver and pull it straight down. Okay, then this is 17 millimeter. It's not going to be real tight. You can use, as long as you got a good end wrench that fits it properly. It's 17. Go ahead and take the O2 sensor clear out of the stock header. Maybe put a little plastic baggie around it. Set it somewhere safe. Don't let it fall on the ground. Set it aside for now. Okay, now I'm going to see if I can get the header out of there, and I'll let you know. Well, after taking a close look, I can see why they want you to remove that bracket. See the bracket there? You can't see the bolt because I'm on the left side of the bike. See the exhaust flange right there? That's the center cylinder. Most likely, I guess that's number 2, but there's only about a 1/4 inch clearance. So the pipe's not going to come out because the flange cannot slide forward. It's going to hit on it. So they want you to take that bolt out, and it's near impossible to get a wrench in there. I tried a little ratchet. I tried a little a ratchet, quarter inch ratchet with a short 10 mil. I tried a little ratcheting box end, and it's pretty tight in there. So instead of fighting the battle, we are going to still take that off, but I decided to go ahead, and these top bolts for the radiator right here are covered. Real hard to get a wrench in there, too much of an angle. So I went ahead and took these 2 bolts out right here and here. Okay, there's just 2 bolts. They're 6 millimeter, 10 millimeter head, and let this just flop out of the way, and then it's all exposed. See, you don't have to take it clear off. So my intent, this one won't come out like that, but it does. That way you don't have to unhook all this mess and all these wires from the wiring harness and the hoses. This just came unclipped, no big deal. You can flop it forward and get to the bolt straight on pretty good. So I'm going to take the 2 top ones out here, see if I can rotate it forward a little bit, and then pull it out of it. It slides out of this. This apparently slides this direction a little bit and comes out. So I'm going to lay a towel on the fender, a couple bath towels and everything. Don't want to mess up your radiator, and see if I can just support it by the hoses and get it forward enough. Then we can get in and unbolt that bracket. So, you know, it might take 10 more minutes, but why fight it and why mess something up fighting the battle in there? So that's the way I'm going to try to do it. So, see, I go through the pain, so it makes it easy for you. All right, let me get on with it. Okay, guys, I got the bracket out of there. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, to tell you the truth. Typical engineers, how they engineer a motorcycle around a bracket, right? Anyway, so what I was able to do is take the radiator loose up on top and let it flop down. Still got plenty of clearance to fender. I got my whole hand in between the fender, but still put thick towel on there, both top bolts. Took all these off, obviously, to get the bolts out. Then I put the top bolt in, so these aren't flopping around. They still kind of hold in place without wrecking anything. Just no big deal. Okay, and then what I was able to do is use the little 1/4 inch drive ratchet with a short 10 millimeter socket to get to the bolt. And I got it most of the way out. It's a pain. And then once you get it loosened up about halfway, you can let the radiator pull out. I was able to get my hand actually up in there and grab the bolt and unthread it by hand, and then it slides out of the rubber grommet. It's got to slide one direction. It won't come out otherwise without it out completely. So, okay, so now there's two more nuts. I already took the other ones, but the center cylinder, I haven't taken out the flange nuts yet. But because this is all attached in these wires, the radiator kind of rests more forward on the left side, and you get, where's my flashlight? It's gone. Sorry about this. Yeah, so you got plenty of room to get your left hand in there. I think you can see that. Yeah, so I'll use the 1/4" drive with a short 12mm socket, and I'll take those out, and now the pipe should drop down. So let me get those out, and then we'll take the rest of the mounts out and see how we do. Okay, all the front header flange nuts are off. This is your mounting muffler bracket bolt on this side. 12mm box end. You can't get a socket past the side stand safety switch here. Okay, so use a box end, get it out as far as you can, and then it will barely come out. It does clear it. You may want to just leave it in there for right this second and see if it could come out of there. I think it will. Yes, it does, but just make sure it's unthreaded all the way from the bung, the nut in here, and just set it aside. I don't believe that's used again for anything. All right, then the last bolt is the one on the other side. And you should have a buddy help you with this, because this thing's probably pretty darn heavy. I believe it's just going to be this one here. So this side you can use a socket, 12mm again. Okay, let me get on with that. Yep. Okay guys, so I got the rear last bolt out. My wife Liza kind of helped me. You can do it by yourself though. I just kind of wiggled. The header pipes came out of the ports. There's plenty of room to the radiator. I put a 4x4 in here so all your stuff on the bench doesn't get screwed up. And it's definitely better to do this. You just turn it a little bit and take it out the right hand side. So here we are. Here's the heavy beast. Let's go weigh this sucker. Be right back. Okay, here's the beast. Here is the beast. So that little sucker weighs, oh, I came up with 15.4 to 15.6 pounds on our digital scale. So let's just say 15.5 pounds. Pretty damn heavy cat back there. Okay, let's weigh the other stuff. Okay, don't breathe. Okay, these are all the tubes. Nothing, not my muffler, not the other brackets. So here's all the tubes for the whole system, and they weigh exactly 4 pounds. Okay, let me grab the rest. All right, there's all the hardware. My 14-inch street core muffler bracket. The only thing missing is my outer body clamp and a little rubber insulator, and that weighs 1 pound at the most, not even. So we're at 4.8, so let's not cheat and just say, see, there's 5. We'll just say 5 pounds. So there you go, you got 9 pounds, right? 4 and 5 for the whole system versus 15.5. Pretty good. Okay, hey guys. So I already test fit the tubes, just kind of worked them. The three is a little tight, but not too tight to mess with it. The other two slide in with a little clearance. So I'm going to use the Valco high temp black that we carry. And you don't want to make a giant mess because it's going to squish out anyway. All you want is a thin coat inside the whole part of the tube that it's going to slide in. The whole part of it. Just a thin coat. You don't need to look in there. You can't see anything. It's black. Okay, so then put a tiny bit on the tube too. Just the first 1/4 inch, because it's going to make a mess, like I say. And really what you want to do, even though you're going to want to fire this thing up, is after the install you want to wipe the whole pipe down really clean with a cleaner, no handprint, stuff like that, and the muffler, and it's best to let it sit all night. So again, these are numbered. So here's number 3. So we're going to get that in there. right? And pretty much for now, just I test fit this one. It was turned just a little bit. Just line up the spring alignment straight. And then it's nice to have a little spring tool. See this tool? So, yeah, it's nice. Okay, and then what you can do is get them all in there. The bottom ones, I like wiping off the excess right away a little bit. Okay, that's a felt. That one's a felt pin mark. Okay, so the bottom two get on there, and the two springs, one from one from another. So do the same thing. Let me get that assembled. Be back. Okay guys, it went together real nice. Here's the two bottom, number 1 and 2, centered to the spring clips. Now the flanges are going to slide down and make a bunch of noise. And that's what it looks like from the top. So now you just kind of have to play with it, get it in there, try to get it started up on the get them into the ports. I'm not using the new gaskets. The bike's brand new. The stock gaskets still looked fine. One fell out. I just put some little red tacky wheel bearing grease on it, stuck it back in the port. And unless they're really hammered, if your bike's new, use them over. If they're really beat up or crushed and look deformed really bad, then you might want to use these. I don't know. I'm never a huge fan of aftermarket gaskets versus stock, so your call. Anyway, let me try to get it up in there. I'm going to do it as an assembly. This bracket right here apparently goes on the back side of this, and then here's a new mounting bolt with this nice machine cone. Yeah, I'm always pointing the camera without looking at the screen. So yeah, the mounting bracket slides in the back. So gotta kind of get it up in there, get a couple of the nuts on, maybe halfway, you know, work your way across, and don't tighten them, just bring them down till where the tubes are barely snug, back them off a little bit so everything will still move around a little bit at this point. Let's do that. Okay, since you're kind of doing this by yourself most likely, just use a little piece of duct tape. I used Gorilla tape here, and down past the studs, right about in where the radius starts, just put a tiny little piece, and that'll keep those flanges from sliding down and being a total pain in the butt. You can get the pipe up in there and then maybe one at a time peel it off, get it started. We'll see if that helps or not. I think it will. Alright guys, well, as usual, it's always better to have a helper. So my buddy was here, he held on to the other side for me. So anyway, have this all assembled, and had those just snug by hand, even with my fingers, and then this was in a real bind. So bring these up till they're snug, then back them off till the nuts are about flush with the studs, okay? And that gives you a little wiggle room here where this bracket will slide up in there, in the back here, and put the bolt in and the washer on, but don't tighten the nut. I have the nylock on there just stuck on by hand, a few threads, so this won't fall out. So now we have it in alignment and it's on here. So now's the time you want to start snugging down the flange, exhaust flange nuts, okay? So let me go around the other side. Can you see them in there? Again, use the same method that I use with the little ratchet, 12 mil, and just go even on them a little bit at a time, side to side, back and forth, each cylinder, kind of get them all even. And then yeah, I would say those you'd want to torque around 14 foot-pounds at the most, but if you're a good mechanic, you kind of know just to snug them, okay? And then of course they're kind of hard to get to, but with the wobbly on the 1/4 inch drive, you can get to those with the radiator in place, because after about 100 miles and a heat cycle shutting it off, When it's cold, you'd want to just go back over and just barely reef them and check them, and then you should be good. So let me snug those up, and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay guys, I forgot to mention, before you tighten the nuts here, I'm going to turn the camera sideways. Make sure you got clearance to the sump, which would be like the oil pan. And we got plenty of clearance. As long as it has daylight, it can be even 1/8 of an inch. If not, you got to move the tubes around with the collector before you tighten it. And then I got these all snug, but I found lightly snug them just a little bit. Don't tighten them fully yet. And then tighten the rear hanger bolt, because it's in a rubber mount kind of, and it gets kind of cockeyed and it has a hard time pulling down flat. And that way you can snug this down and get it a little closer and lightly snug it, then finish your tightening on all these. Trouble is, it's a little bit in a bind. You don't want these on an angle in the gasket and have to, you know, not have a seal. So I wouldn't do one or the other. I'd kind of lightly do those, snug this one, get it close, then go ahead and tighten these, and then finish with the rear. So yeah, it's kind of hard to get a torque wrench in there. If you have a small torque wrench, I would go 14 foot-pounds. If not, just do them by hand. Make sure you go back and forth, look at the threads poking out, and just work side to side so you got an even pull and it doesn't wreck the flange, and that way you're getting even pressure and distribution against the gasket with the spigot on the pipe. But they fit in there nice. You can, you know, get them in and out. They're not stuck in the port like some pipes. They fit good. Left a little clearance. That's nice because you can move it around a little bit. So now I'm going to finally get these fully tightened. I already got this one done. And then you're going to reverse. We're going to get that pain in the butt bracket back on and bolt back up the radiator and go from there. Alright, got the bottom bolt and bracket back in there. Put a little silicone lube or dielectric grease on this inside the rubber and on the pin there. It makes it a lot easier. Have a buddy kind of hold it together and put your top ones. Mine didn't have a washer over here. I don't know if it came like that from the factory. It doesn't seem right, so I put a little stainless 1/4 inch flat washer, thin washer under that bolt. The other side had one. So snug those down, then your covers go back on. Here's your bolt. So the top one is the one that has this little sleeve in the top with the regular bolt with just a washer. Then this has the little shoulder on the bolt. Again, in case I had the camera wrong. Top bolt with the sleeve. Tiny little drop. Put a little bit of blue Loctite thread lock on these two bolts and just lightly snug them. And just double check all your hoses and all your little connections. See here, this pulled out just because we're moving it around. Go over everything. You can button up this side. This side here we're not buttoning up yet because we're going to put their extension cable in, and then you can button this part up. Okay, like I did in the little catch me that I made a mistake, I got the right side buttoned up, and yes, these are 4mm, not 5 like I mentioned before. Okay, got this side buttoned up. Okay, I went ahead and plugged in their extension, O2 extension cable. I was going to route it down here, but they put it up here, and I think it's better. So you just make a U here. You can go into the same little spot here, behind the blinker, behind the upper frame tube here. It all fits through there. Follow it along here. Take this factory cable, tie loose. You just pull the tab. Put it behind these wires. I routed it under both of these hoses and on down right there by the case. You could put a little nylon tie from this back hose if you want, very lightly, but I don't think it's necessary. It's under that bolt right there, and then the original O2 wire is going to plug in and take it off into the header. So anyway, I like to start from the front to the back, finish everything if you can first, then we'll move to the back. So Now button up this cover. That's all done. And then we're ready to start on the back half. Okay, just doing a little test fit. This looks pretty nice. It looks like it's going to be in alignment fairly well, and you got a little adjustment to wiggle room. Anyway, the bracket comes off. You unbolt the bracket. Their bracket slides behind it. You still use the top spacer here, but they didn't supply any washers because they supply these Allens. The longer one obviously goes on top with the spacer, but then it's going to be against this with no washer, and that's hokey. In their instructions, it shows a couple washers, but they don't mention washers. I have stainless washers in stock from some of my pipes and stuff, so put a couple nice stainless 8mm flat washers under the head of the bolts. And these, I don't know if you need to Loctite them. Sometimes I use anti-seize, sometimes I use Loctite, so take your pick. Just don't over tighten them. Okay, went for blue Loctite. So if you're by yourself, do it this way. Stick the bracket up in there, get the front one started, right? Just get it started, get it in there, just don't snug it down too much. Then you can slide in the spacer, the other bolt with the washer under the head, teeny bit of blue Loctite on it, and then you can snug them down. If you want to torque them, you'd torque them to 12, 13 foot-pounds, but you can just go snug. Okay, do that. Okay guys, here it is, old school cool. So that's my 14-inch street core. Still a straight through core, it's just a louver core. It's about 1 3/4 instead of 2 inch. Still makes good power. Still plenty loud when you romp on it, but it'd be a little more subtle when you're just cruise at light throttle. Put my logo plate on. Got it all buttoned up. This bracket is kind of flimsy. See that? Because the pipe is all spring mounted down here. If this pipe went down and at least clamped to the mid pipe, that'd stiffen that up, but that bracket, that's what you got. I got my clamp super tight. I only used part of their, they had a big spacer like their muffler or something's way offset. So I've got mine centered, tucked in better. I've got about a 1/2 inch of clearance to the swing arm. Be fine. All nice and tucked in tighty. Looks good. You know, I got 10-inch bad boys for the bad boys out there. I like a compromise. So tomorrow I'll clean up the whole pipe. Finish putting this is the only thing. I got to put the O2 sensor back in. They got an adapter because most headers have an 18mm bung. That's normal for like a Bosch. This bike has a little tiny one. It's probably 12mm. I don't know what size that is. I never measured it. But got to put this in, and then hopefully that wire reaches, and finish it up, and then wipe the whole pipe down. You want to wipe the whole pipe down with a brand new clean microfiber cloth and maybe a brake clean or contact cleaner just to get all your fingerprints and anything off of it. I'm going to let it sit all night and let the sealer do its thing. I didn't put that much, but it's all buttoned up. But that's it for that. I will be back tomorrow and finish it up and then clean it up. And if it's not raining, we're getting showers and lightning, I'll roll it outside and take some pictures and finish the video. Hope you're enjoying it. Good morning, guys. This is Dale back the next morning. It's a long day yesterday. You know, half the video, half installing the pipe. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt, but could be a lot worse. It's still a naked bike versus a full fared bike, which is twice as bad, trust me. So anyway, I've got the O2 bung adapter in. This takes a 24mm socket. A 7/8 would probably work also for the adapter. Make sure you use some anti-seize, just a teeny bit on the threads. And then put your O2 in. That's a 17mm opened in. It's good enough. Also put a little bit of anti-seize on the threads of the O2 itself. Don't go down towards the tip. Make sure you don't get any down in there so it doesn't get on the O2 sensor itself. So just tighten this one down pretty secure. The O2 just needs to be snug and a little tighter. Okay? You don't have to really torque it or anything, but just snug it good without It's not that big a diameter, so don't get carried away. Okay, so right here on the unused mount, the muffler, stock muffler bolted to on this side here, this area, as you know, if you have one of these bikes, gets completely gummed from chain lube. So just keep that wiped off and it won't be as bad. But got to get in here and clean all this before you work on this thing. At least I do. So anyway, what I did was the stock bolt sticks through. I didn't want to take it out and have a big hole showing. So use the stock, the original kind of chrome flat washer. And then I got an Allen bolt I just had. I don't even know the length. I think it's about 20. God dang it. Sorry with my camera. Half the videos I'm probably not even pointing at the part. But I think it's about 25 millimeters. I just happen to have some flange nuts here. So I'll put a couple drops of blue Loctite. I'm going to put this back in. And then it's going to be neat and tidy and kind of look stock. And the head then of a Allen, see, clears the side stand safety switch. So do that, that'll clean it up. Then we're going to get this plugged in, and then obviously it looks like I'll have to tie this up a little bit or clean it up, but I'll show you that in the end here. Yeah, we're getting the bike on the back on the dyno today too. So I got to get rolling because, man, it's what time is it now? It's 9:30. I started at about 8:15. Okay guys, what I ended up doing here is I pulled the wire from the main plug up here, coming down the extension wire. I pulled it up more. See the base of it's almost to the bolt on the case right here. And then I put a couple little nylon ties right here. I tied the O2 original wire from the O2 to the safety switch right here to kind of hold it in place better. Okay, and up top here, I got the bolt in, as you see. Up top here, I loosened this up, pulled it up, and then it had some slack in it. So then re-snugged it. And right up here, there's a hose, a breather hose or one of the hoses off the smog stuff. So I very lightly snugged it, not tight. You don't want to pinch the hose to that hose. See, and then it all tucks up. And I was going to do it right here, but then you'd see it, and I saw that hose, so it's clean, out of the way. Don't even tell it's there. Can't even tell. Everything's nice and tidy. And then let me go around the other side. I'll show you what I did, because you have a lot of extra length. I don't know if you can see this. So there's a hole. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, right here. There's a hole in the swing arm, right? Not swing arm, but part of this whole frame mount, frame cross member. There's a hole. So I pulled it here. Pulled it, snugged it in that hole right there, and I used 2 nylon ties around it. You don't want this thing coming loose and flopping down here and getting caught on something and tear it out. So hopefully you can see that right there, and kind of how it's routed real nice. No way it's gonna, it's way above the engine, so it's all good. So we're ready to do. I got to do a final wipe down here, and I'll pull the bike outside, and I might start it up in here. There's a lot of activity going on right now next to me. They're building a building, and the guy next door is running his tractor, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we'll see in just a minute here. Okay, guys, let's start it up. Oh, wrong bike. Oh, this is one with some real horsepower. That's Ratsuki. And this is my new sweet little 650 Interceptor Royal Enfield I'm working on. Anyway, so okay, I got the header all wiped down, got everything buttoned up, and I got the O2 sensor plugged in. The engine light's already on from running it on the dyno. You have to clear that, so that has nothing to do with anything. But anyway, let's do the first startup right this second. I haven't even heard it yet. See if you hear any exhaust leaks, which you should not. Sounds nice and quiet. nice about the street core, even a 14. Obviously it'll get loud when you romp on it, but you notice it's a nice smooth tone. It's not raspy, it doesn't sound tinny. I'm sure it'll have some pop and farting on the when you let off, just because now we're just running on the stock 02, but that's not it. It's the AIS, the air induction system, smog system. With that still open, you'll hear some pop, 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 pop. So you can either buy a block-off kit, or you can simply plug the hose. I'll find that when I pull the tank up for DC or whatever I do. And the hose from the smog valve to the air box, you can internally plug that hose and it will help the decel pop. That's the no-cost version, but it sounds real nice. Yeah, so again on the street core, don't get me wrong, it's still going to scream when you're on it hard. Okay, you'd have to have a big, giant, ugly muffler, and one hanging out this far to like a 17. 17 would only beat about here, not too bad for the touring guy. But anyway, yeah. So what happens with the street core is it's still straight through, but it's got a louver pattern I designed. I've designed many through the years. But when you're light on the throttle and steady cruise, it really knocks the edge off quite a bit more, probably 2 to 3 dB when you're just going easy, okay, cruising. So anyway, I'm going to roll it over to the dyno and get on the dyno today without any changes and all the restrictions still internally. If you watch my dyno, stock dyno pulls, I'll probably have 2 videos. I don't know yet, but I don't expect big power from just the header bolted on. It's mainly a weight reduction. Maybe we'll see 4 horsepower, 3 to 5 at the most, and then I'm sure we'll see 8 to 10 maybe. Might put my foot in my mouth, but I wouldn't doubt it. Not peak, but coming up through the usable part where it's really restricted on the throttle blades, the secondary. So, okay, well this is it for the header install. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned. I'm sure it's very helpful if you've never removed the header on your new MT-09 yet, or if you're installing any other brand header, at least you got something to go by. If you buy a Black Widow, which is perfectly fine, they're reasonably priced. This costs about $430 shipped from the UK in a little box. So you can't really beat a full system and then a muffler you got to buy, you know. The only thing kind of hokey is this bracket is a little bit, but I'm sure it'll be fine. But the paint on it will just come right off. It's like they spray painted it or something. So, I don't know. It'll probably be all right, but I think that's kind of cheesy. It's a nice bracket. Why didn't they powder coat it? You could always do that. So, okay, this wraps up this video. Please subscribe. Please give me a thumbs up. Comment below. And I appreciate it, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers, Dale Walker, Holeshot out.